So today I have the pleasure of interviewing a good friend of mine, Mr. Carlton, Sita Whitfield. And this dude has been featured on Steve Harvey. He's for a number of things, for creating Hoop Triggers app, for creating Loops by C-Dub, and a number of other things. But I'm not going to do too much talking because I can go on and on with this track record of accomplishment. So I know this is slightly different for you guys that are watching because you're used to this being bass player driven and everything like that. But I figured, especially given what's going on with the pandemic, it'll be a great opportunity to bring a music professional on to kind of give you some different ways of looking at things. I know I have more than just bass players that are watching me. So for the people who don't play bass and you're looking for some other things that you can probably do or some different ideas, this is the perfect guy. And I'm super excited to kick this off with him and getting him to share some of his nuggets with us. I get the pleasure of talking to him one-on-one off camera. So just to get to share some of these things with you is really exciting for me. So man, just to give people a little background, can you let us know kind of who you are, where you're from, that kind of thing, for the people who don't know you and they're not familiar with Hoop Triggers or any of that stuff? So can you let us know a little bit of that?
Man, my background, man, I'm Texas native. So I'm from Hillsboro, Texas, small town. It's a real small town.
I guarantee we got you beat.
Yeah, I mean, you probably so, but yeah, I mean, we got Walmart.
Okay, all right, we right there.
All right, yeah. So, but yeah, my background is basically, I mean, my dad is a pastor. I grew up in church. Grew up playing in church since the age of something, I think 4 or something like that when I started. And I didn't really have any musicians in my area to learn from. So it was really just literally my dad teaching me what he knew. A lot of people laugh at me when I don't know a lot of songs that people just know. I mean, now I know them because after playing for Bishop Morton and all that kind of stuff, I had to learn all this stuff. But back then we sung my dad's songs.
Okay.
That's what we did. So I think that's kind of how I got the whole producer part of me in, because I have to just make up stuff on the spot when he would just randomly start singing stuff. But yeah, I started playing keys when I was real young, dabbled in some bass.
So you do play bass?
Yeah, that didn't work out. I always wanted to play, and I got to where I could hold my own on the song, but everybody always wanted me to play keys, so I never got a gig playing bass. That's kind of where the whole key bass thing comes from, really.
And that's something I need to link a clip to this video so you guys can, and I'll insert a clip here. You guys can hear how amazing this dude is on key bass, because he did a whole album basically where he's playing key bass like a bass player, and it's freaking ridiculous. So be sure to check that album out, by the way.
So from there, moving to Atlanta and experiencing a whole different type of just a new world of everything. Even before moving here, just I went from playing at a church that had, well, from my dad's church, and then I moved on to a slightly bigger church that had maybe, I don't know, 100 members.
Okay.
So really, I got a call, and I knew it was time for me to go, and I took it. And I went from playing at a church with 100 members one Sunday to the next Sunday playing at Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas that had 8,000, I think, at the time. Or between 5,000 to 8,000 members. Woo. It was just playing by myself in the country, playing with Sean Martin, all the Kirk Franklin musicians. It was just weird, man. So that's when I learned I didn't know how to play.
Dude,
that's what I wasn't all that great.
But the fact that you got called by Sean Martin, who probably at that time was working with Kirk Franklin, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So that means you made a lot of progress while at your dad's church.
I mean, I would say while being at my dad's church, we were free. We were free to experiment. Like, there were no other musicians in the city. And the people at my dad's church, they weren't all caught up in, you got to play it like this, play it like this. They just let us play. So we got to experiment a lot. Okay. And just mess up a lot and and all that. So So I guess we got a lot of practice in, you know.
Yeah.
I remember when I got that job playing at Friendship West, I was actually at a jam session. That's what we called it back then. It wasn't shedding
Yeah,
back
it
then.
wasn't shed.
And my cousin was there. I wasn't playing. I was just listening. And I asked my cousin, man, you know anybody up here looking for a keyboard player or anything? I was just really just playing. I didn't expect him to be like, yeah, I know somebody. But he was like, yeah, Sean looking for somebody at Friendship West. And I was like, oh. And so he said, okay, tell you what, come to my church, which he was playing at the Potter's house.
Okay.
He said, come audition for me, because I haven't heard you play in a while. He said, come audition for me, and then I'll see where the best place to put you at, you know.
Okay.
And so I went up there and I auditioned. I'll never forget it, man. I played "Hold It On" by Kim Burrell.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I had that song down, man. I mean, when I tell you, I practiced that song so hard. And when I got to that audition and I played in front of my cousin, I folded so bad. I'm talking about, it was like I didn't know how to play anything. I played that song. I'll be embarrassed if anybody had that video today. It was so terrible.
I've been there.
But still sent me to Friendship with. He still told Sean about me. Sean had me come to a youth rehearsal, and he was just playing. I walked in, and they got rehearsal started. He started playing. He just got off the keyboard and just said, play. And I was like, okay. And I picked up the song, and he was like, okay, coming Sunday, right? I was like, okay. And I was there for 2 years.
Wow, that easy.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
So that clearly brings me to a point that, because a lot of musicians we work so hard in those younger stages trying to get to the big stage, and a lot of times people will disregard the smaller stage that they're on instead of like really taking full advantage of that small stage, because that's the thing. I've said it in countless speaking engagements that I've done with other musicians and bands that I've talked to. It's like, man, that small stage is the thing that prepares you for the bigger stage.
Definitely.
Because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have been able to walk in and be ready to play for Sean Martin and all those cats had you not been like really putting in work while you was at your dad's church. Because you just sped past the fact that you said Kim Burrell, Holding On. That wasn't no song that just regular musicians was learning.
Right.
FYI, nothing.
Hey, if you're my age and maybe 10 years older, that was a song that that album changed all of our lives musically. Like, I tell people to this day to go back and just learn that, because that's the song. When that and Mint Condition, all at the same time, those two albums that was it. Like, yeah. That was it. So I remember going to the church and just practicing all night. Even when I left my dad's church, the next church I went to, I had a key to the church. I would just go in there and randomly and just play and just practice and practice and practice. And I really wasn't exposed, like I said, to a lot of musicians. So all I had was some Chick Corea videos and some Victor Wooten albums. That was it. That one of my instructors that turned me on to for the one semester that I did go to college.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's about the time I got introduced to like jazz fusion, was like around college time. So that's about the same, and I think we're close to the same age. So yeah, that's about the same age for me as well. But I think I was a late bloomer more so than you. You said you're playing at 4. I didn't start to 12.
Oh, okay.
I didn't start playing bass till like 16, somewhere in there.
Wow.
So yeah. The other thing I want to add, you mentioned as you're talking about the church, I guess the journey of the church, because all of this stuff played in, I guess, who you are now and what you're doing now in the gospel community. How did you end up landing at Bishop Morton's church? Because for you guys that don't know, maybe some of you guys are not familiar, but Bishop Morton is like a staple voice in the gospel community. He's been around for, man, at least 3 decades, at least. And that's probably cutting him short. That's probably 4. Yeah. So, I mean, with hit songs like Let It Rain and so many other songs that he's recorded, but he's a pretty much a staple voice in the gospel community, with being an artist, singing, and being a very well-known pastor around the world. So how did you land that gig? Because I know a lot of people found you through some of the videos that you posted from the MD chair of that church. So how did you end up being at Changing Generation?
Oh man, Very interesting story. So before playing at Changing, I was playing at a very small Baptist church in Jonesboro, Georgia. And the musician, the drummer was an MD, and he needed somebody to fill in for the musician that was going out of the country. Well, the musician did come back. So I ended up staying there for a minute. And so I'm telling you this for a reason. This is the reason why I went back this far. So I played there for a couple of months, and I was done pretty much there. And I wanted to move on. I got hired at another church to play key bass. And this is what I wanted. This is the gig I've been looking for. Like, I found a church that would literally let me bring my guitar and play bass every Sunday, right?
I think I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. Man, I was so excited. I was so excited that I took a pay cut to go play for them. It wasn't even about the money. I just wanted to do it because I knew I could get my skill up if I could do this every Sunday. Well, I played there one Sunday, and then the next Sunday, they told me that they made a mistake and that they thought that they would just hire me to play for the men's day. So the head deacon was trying to get me on, bring me on, but the other deacon was like, no, we just wanted him for men's day.
Yeah.
Now I already quit my other job, right, other church, and came to play there. And then they told me, well, we'll let you play until May, until Easter. That's what it was. We'll let you stay until Easter because we don't want to just let you go, but we're letting you know we can't. After that, you got to go. Okay. So I was very bitter right at that moment. You know, I was to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not playing for no other church anymore. I'm done playing for churches. I got my production up to the point where I didn't really have to play for a church.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of money, but I could make it work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so after that ended, I said, I'm not playing at another church anymore. I'm done. That's it. And then Isaac Correa had a birthday party, and I went to it, and I met Trent Phillips there. And Trent at that birthday party was like, man, you know, we may be looking for somebody to change. And I was like, I was like, really, don't even stress yourself about it, because I'm not playing for no other church no more. And Trent was like, oh, okay, you know. And so like 2 weeks later, Trent asked me to fill in for Phil, because Phil was out of town. And I was like, Trent, I'm not playing for another church anymore. I said, I don't want to play for church no more. I'm done. He's like, man, I just need you to fill in for this one thing. I was like, okay. All right, Sid. Trent, I'll fill in this one time, but that's it. Yeah. And I was at church for 5 years. Wow. So it was crazy. I mean, it was something about changing that made me, I just could not turn it down. Like, I knew I was supposed to be there for the time that I was there. And I remember Bishop Morton coming to our convocation back in Texas and watching him sing and PJ playing the organ. And that was during the time where I wasn't allowed, they wouldn't let me play in the state meet, you know. And so I was always like, man, I wish I could play up there. I wish I could play up there. And little did I know, you know, 10 years later, I would be playing at the church of the person. I would be traveling to the state meeting to play for Bishop Morton as his musician 10 years later. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. But yeah, I wasn't trying to play, but I got the offer and I took it. And because I did in obedience, even though I didn't want to, I knew it was God telling me to do it. I wouldn't be doing anything I'm doing right now had I not been there. Anything. Really? All this stuff, none of that would have came about. Zero had I not been there.
That's crazy. I never knew that. That's what
sparked all of this. Yeah. That's what sparked Loops by Sita, all of that. That happened because we used to use the MPC at church and it went out. Mm-hmm. It would work, but the screen would just show blue, so we couldn't navigate to find another loop. Right. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll make some loops at home. And I had actually thought of Loops by Sita 4 years before this. Okay. But I just made 30 loops and I was like, nah, this ain't gonna work because ain't nobody using loops like that. But I had 30 loops and I was like, we could just use these, right? Yeah. And so because we did so many songs at Changing, I was like, oh, I gotta make some more. And then after about 5 weeks of that, I had like 100. And I was like, man, I might as well put these on the website, just let somebody else use them. Yeah. And that's where Loops by Sita came from. I just took a picture on my phone, and slapped it on a website, and found this MP3 player that I could sell MP3s from, and just posted, say, hey y'all, I got Loops for 99 cents. And that started the whole thing. So like, had I not been obedient, even though I didn't want to play at another church again, I don't know what I would be doing right now. Because going there is what made me start this journey that I'm on right now.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So for the people, because I know we have a lot of different people from different walks watching this. So can you brief, and you got a lot of products. So I'm gonna try to.
Oh, okay.
Can you briefly explain to people who have no clue to what Loops by Sita, what is that, and how user friendly is it?
Okay, got you. Loops by Sita, it started as a website when we were playing in church, and to make our band sound more full and give us an extra element, almost like another musician playing. We use drum loops a lot. So you start the drum loop, then you play on top of it, right? Everybody's doing it now. It's not an uncommon thing. But back then it wasn't as common. But I started making drum loops that actually went with the song. So it wasn't just a random generic loop. It actually was the tempo of the song, that had the feel of the song, it matched the song, it was for the song. And so I made a lot of those and put them on the website. So if you were doing a certain song on one Sunday, you could just go to the website and say, "Oh, we're doing Anthem, man. That's I'm gonna download that one because that's the loop for that song." Okay. And so I turned that website into an app, Loops by Sita, the actual iOS and Android app. So you can actually just go on your phone, see what loops you're doing for this week, download them on your phone, play them from your phone, change the tempo, all that good stuff, right from your phone.
Okay.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so this, just to clarify, this is all for gospel music specifically.
I would say mainly gospel music. We actually do have some loops on there for like corporate band kind of stuff.
Okay.
Some top 40 corporate band songs and stuff like that. But I'm gonna say 98%. Yeah, it's mainly for gospel world. Now people use these loops for all different types of stuff. But
okay,
that now has 1,500 loops on it. Probably more than that.
1,500?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's super cool. And so you pretty much explained just now how you came up with the Loops by Sita app. Now the other app, I think this is the one that you literally blew up from, is the Hoop Triggers app.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know the story, but for everybody who doesn't know what that is, what is that? And we'll put links to the videos where you guys can go and watch and learn a little bit more about these different apps. He's put up videos where you can see demonstrations and that kind of thing. But can you tell us briefly about what that is?
Cool. So Hoop Triggers, it just literally dates back to 1997, believe it or not. Wow. When I had my first keyboard, the XP50,
okay,
there was a feature on there where you could record some chords and assign it to a key. And so I got this bright idea one day that instead of me playing behind my dad while he's preaching, I would just pre-record these hits with drums on them. And I just told my brother, David, don't even worry about playing. I got it. And while he was preaching, I was just like, hitting it, playing. And so, I don't know, fast forward 20 years later, I don't know how many years later, whatever. It just hit me, man. I'm like, man, that was a good idea. Like, somebody could use that. And so I got to work and I just started. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I didn't have no degree or nothing like that in engineering. I was just like, I know I did this on a keyboard. I can figure out a way to do it somewhere else. And so I created it in a contact player with Native Instruments, and I was selling it that way. And so basically it's just an app. Now it's actually in the app form where you can play behind a preacher with the tap of a finger. So it plays real samples of real people playing as if they were really in church. And it provides a solution for churches that do not have musicians or cannot afford musicians, or at this point, depending on when you're watching this video, not even able to go to church or not even able to congregate in large settings. And so with this app, you can literally hold a whole church service musically with just your phone. Hoop Triggers was the first version we came out with, and Hoop Triggers Plus is like the mother version that I wouldn't call it the mother version, but it's the big version, the plus version, all right? That has everything from altar call, praise and worship, you name it. Like whatever you want to do in a church service musically, this app can handle it. And whatever
I've done some stuff with you with that, with the Hoop Triggers Plus. I think I've done some stuff with you on that part of.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Have, definitely have. And so it's just, I mean, it's really been blessing a lot of churches, honestly, man. It's just, we get emails and text messages and tags and all kind of stuff from people who literally, like, one day our server went down because there was so many people using it. But it's not even the fact that there was so many people using it. It's the fact that these people were like distraught, like my musician gone, like that. It was like, like we depend on this every Sunday. Y'all gotta fix, Yeah. It was like that. And I was like, man, it's not like these people, there's some people that download it just to play with, make jokes and put it on social media. But there's people that literally use this for their music in their church, and they depend on it every single week to deliver. Like, and that gives me so much motivation to keep creating content and just to keep creating. Because I was scared when I launched this app. I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah. I was terrified that I would get talked about, and I did get talked about.
Well, that brings me to another question that I wanted to ask you about, because I've posted, on Facebook and so on. I posted when you first dropped it. I myself and several other hundreds of people were sharing about this app. And one of the common arguments that I've gotten from musicians, especially professional musicians who don't necessarily know you personally, some of the complaints, so to speak, well, he created this and he's put musicians out of work. Can you elaborate? I know the truth behind that, but just for people who feel like, okay, he created an app just so he could put musicians out of work, can you elaborate on the reason you actually created this app? Because I know it had absolutely nothing to do with that at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the reason I created this app was because when I did leave my dad's church, he didn't have any musicians. Remember, I told you when we started this interview that I come from a city that had no musicians, and literally to this day, there's still none there. And so if you ever left your father or mother's church, the guilt that comes with that, right? It's just feel like, especially if they don't have anybody once you leave, it's just terrible. And I'm not saying this was made out of guilt, but it was more of a concern, and I wanted to be a help for my dad, even though I couldn't be there. So he would ask me for different tracks. He would ask me for different things, and one day he was like, "Well, son, what do I do while I preach? I don't have anybody to play for me while I'm preaching." And I was like, I remember this idea. And so I created it for him. This was all for him. And even until this day, it's still for him, honestly. I just made it available to the public because I saw that it worked for him, and I knew that it could bless a lot of people. But even to this day, I still call him. I'm like, Dad, what else do you need on it? Like, you need something else? What will make it better? What'll make this work for you? That prayer room collection that I just released?
Yeah,
I talked to him about that.
Wow.
That's how we do. And he's the reason for a lot of these features that pop up on this app. It's for him. So when people say, he did this to put musicians out of business, or come on, y'all. I mean, that's like saying, anytime new technology is introduced, people are always going to headbutt it. That's just all it is to it. I'm sure when somebody created a keyboard, they thought that every pianist was just going to get thrown to the side, right?
Yeah.
But people still gigging today. If people really think about what this app can do and the time that we're living in, you could really honestly make money with this app if you just use it the right way. But even at that, there's nothing that can replace a real musician. We know that. There's nothing that can replace an actual good musician, right?
Yep.
And I always tell people because I've heard all kind of stuff. People say, if a church can't afford a musician, they don't need one. It's like, come on, y'all, really? Y'all, I come from a place where a lot of churches didn't have musicians. When we traveled to different churches, they didn't have musicians.
Yeah.
And I think we get caught up in what we see on social media, and we think because every time we see these live bands and they all got the mask on now and they playing, and that's how every church is. And y'all, it's just not like that. No. And I even, like I told you on that post you posted, there's somebody actually emailed me and was like, they apologized because they told me they were honestly just mad because they didn't think of it. And honestly, I think that could be what a lot of people are experiencing. And I'm not even gonna lie, I've been mad about stuff that I didn't come up with because it's just natural. And that's why I don't hold it against the people. I don't hold it against the comments because people say all kinds of stuff on Facebook that they don't really mean.
Yeah.
But like I said, I stay away from them.
And that's yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. So what advice would you give someone that's pursuing a music career?
Man, that is if you'd asked me that 6 months ago, it would have been a totally different answer.
Right now, run for the hills.
Right. And that's all it's really about, depending on when you're watching this video. But in the time we're actually living in right now, ooh, man, it's very, very tough. If you're going to pursue a music career right now, you have to be willing to wait on your ship to come. That's just all it is to it. If you think you're going to get in it and your music is just going to blow up and you just going to go platinum and just because your music is good, I'm sorry to tell you, but right now, I mean, everybody's giving free concerts. Everybody's dropping free music now. It's like you have to really, really be creative. And I would just say, just put your best foot forward. Find something unique about yourself, because that's really, I mean, in all reality, when you're trying to sell records, you're competing against somebody, because it's either, I mean, that's just how it is. So if you want somebody to buy your stuff, they're going to have to buy into you. It's not even about your songs. It's because everybody got good songs. I feel like it's about your personality. Use social media to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more positivity you give off, the more better chances you have at becoming somebody that people want to follow, especially during this time. We're tired of negative stuff. I'm tired of the news, tired of I want to hear something positive. I want to hear something that makes me feel good, And so as an artist or as a musician, practice, definitely. This is a great time to practice. But find that something unique about yourself. I just got, I don't know if I got it. I don't even have it with me, but I just ordered this MIDI ring, right? A lot of people probably don't even know about this
MIDI
ring.
Ring?
It's a ring finger. Yeah. I went to London 3 years ago, and I remember meeting the people who created this ring, and they were just talking about it. It was at this conference. And now I saw an ad on Facebook. I was like, those are those people. But it's a ring where you can set MIDI parameters and you can do different stuff by moving your hand. And so if you're playing strings on a keyboard, you want the strings to rise, you can do like that.
Are you serious?
It feels real, And so a lot of people don't know about that. But when I post that, that's going to be, I mean, now, I don't know, depending on when this video is, it may be out by the time, somebody else may get it and do it before I do. But if I were the first person to in my community to post myself using it, that's something unique now. Yeah. Somebody gonna follow me just because, wait a minute, I ain't never seen nobody use no ring to do that. It's just find unique ways. That's what I'm saying. Uniqueness is the key right now, I think.
Okay. Now that's gonna cause me to skip. I got my little notes here. That's gonna cause me to skip. No. That's great, because it's a point that I had here. Because we're in this pandemic or whatever you want to call it, I call it an opportunity season, depending on how you're looking at it. So in your opinion, what can musicians do? And this kind of goes along the lines of what you just said, but what can musicians do in this time to reinvent themselves?
Technology, man.
Technology
is the key. Just to let y'all in on a little secret. It's not really a secret, but it's something we don't really talk about, is the advancement of technology and where it's going, y'all. It's so many different ways you can reinvent yourself and prepare yourself for what's coming. Because the people who don't, they will be left behind when, like, we all talk about 5G and how we think it's connected to all this stuff going on. But in reality, 5G is coming, and it's going to be the actual thing that changes the world into the future that we've always envisioned back when we were little kids. So when you think about, virtual reality looking real and all this other stuff that we imagine in the future, when 5G comes, this stuff is going to start coming out. So from a musician standpoint, if you think about, if I can do a live with Jermaine right now, and there's no latency, right?
Right. Very little.
If I can play something and he can play along with me, and it sounds like we're in the same room, that's something to think about. That's coming. Like, that kind of stuff is coming. So what are we going to do with that? There's so many different ideas and so many different ways you can go with that. Studio sessions, live performances, band rehearsals, posting that stuff live for people to see, and interacting with band members in another state and doing concerts remotely and all that kind of stuff. That stuff is coming. Yeah. And so I think thinking toward the future is what you can do to reinvent yourself. You have to think ahead. Can't think now. You got to think ahead.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. That's the main thing, honestly.
I agree. And I'll throw this in there. Something you said earlier, and I want to kind of swing back around to how you almost kind of didn't do, well, you had two ideas, both ideas that basically are providing a living for you now, especially during this time that we're in. Mm-hmm. Both of those ideas almost got trashed. You know, the hoop triggers, which you said that happened in like 97, and then the loops by Sita. If you hadn't got that thought to just, hey, let me merchandise this, like, you could have just left them, because I know plenty of people who got, myself included, got tons of loops in my laptop. I got a whole laptop full of loops that I've made in beats, and you know, the MDN for different stuff. You know, you got like hundreds of loops in different folders, and we just didn't think to merchandise it. And so I would just want to throw in, stop throwing away ideas just because you think. Stop thinking about your ideas from your own perspective. Meaning, like, all right, so, man, ain't nobody gonna buy this. People aren't using loops like this, or whatever the case may be. We're so quick to dismiss our own ideas, and those ideas come to us for a reason. How many people now, rhetorically, obviously, but how many people now are kicking themselves that they didn't invent hoop triggers?
Right.
Because I'm sure you're not the first person to have that idea. Ideas are in the air. Like, there are several people who grab on the ideas, but it's like the person who makes that idea famous first is the one that gets credit for it. There was times that, even like, you go back in the old days, I'm like a history dude. So you got Tesla and Thomas Edison, who were both kind of coming up with different ways to use electricity and light bulb and all that kind of different stuff. But of course, at the time, Thomas Edison took the ball and ran with it, not because Tesla wasn't trying, but for whatever politics that we won't get into there. Right. But later, now you hear more about Nikola Tesla in the latter years, but the idea was there over 100 years ago. Right. So these ideas are here, so you can't throw away your ideas. You have to run with them, whatever that idea is, no matter how dumb it is. I got a little saying now. It's always a dumb idea until somebody pay you for it. So it doesn't matter how dumb it is, just go with it. If you fail at it, at least you know it doesn't work, you know, as opposed to not trying it at all. Yep. So
that's true. That is true, man.
A question I want to ask you, now that you're in a position to actually hire musicians, and I know if we were in a more perfect musical environment, what would you look for in hiring musicians? What's some of the key things you look for as to hiring musicians?
Well, I mean, it's a little different in this situation. Yeah, of course. If it was more like a concert situation or live music or, you know, stuff like that, even just interacting with people, period. My main thing, man, is just what are they like, man? What's their personality? Everybody can play. Like, I ain't gonna lie, there was a time when I literally knew no musician. I mean, when I first came to Atlanta, I was trying to put together a band. It just wasn't happening, man. I went on Craigslist, putting on ads and stuff, and people would come by and audition, and I was like, no, this just can't be. I know it's more talent, like, you know. But now, at this point, after, you know, people knowing who I am a little bit, and I know a lot of musicians here in the city. There's so many people I could call on to do different stuff. If they do it, I mean, I hope they would do it. But it's like, I have access. Social media gives us access to so many people. Yeah. But at the end of the day, man, I want to work with somebody that's fun to work with. Like I can find a talent, but sometimes it's hard to find the right personality for the right song. So I always look at the personality, the character. If it was a tour, I would definitely be looking at that, because I got to be around this person every day, all day long. and and even possibly room with them. It's just that plays a big part. As far as my company goes, people that do stuff for me, I like to hire people who I feel that I can tell they don't have any ulterior motives.
Yeah.
There's some people. And I'm not trying to claim to be nobody big time or nothing like that. But there are some really known musicians that hit my inbox up sometime wanting to do some work on some of my stuff. And I'm first of all I'll be like, why are they asking me this? Like, I can't believe this person's literally keeps doing this. Like, this guy's like this person. I ain't gonna say no names, but
yeah.
And to the point where I've called other people I know and asked them about it. I'm like, man, what do you think about this person? And when they get to talking to me, I understand what's really happening. And so, I don't know. I like to work with people who, first of all, know what I stand for. They know what my product, what my company stands for. I don't have to explain to them everything that I've done. They've already been following me, because I feel like you've already been following me. You got an idea of what I'm looking for anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times people bug me about working for me, and I let them bug me, because I just want to see if they really are serious. That's just, I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's just how I do sometimes. I let them bug me until I think they're going to stop bugging me, and they just keep on, and I'll be like, all right, let's see what you got, and they kill it every time. So I just feel like it's real important to find people that is going to be loyal to the brand and not take your stuff once they create it and try to sell it on the side and all that kind of stuff. I deal with a lot of digital products, so it's like, man, if I hire the wrong person, it's like,
yeah,
I've seen people with posts like, yo, man, I got 50 loose by Sita. If anybody want them, hit me, inbox me. I'll be like, y'all just think I ain't gonna see this? Like, I got followers that just want to snitch. Like, they don't even do nothing but send me screens. I never asked them to do it. They just be sending me screens like, yo, man, this dude over here, he got your stuff selling it, But I just have to be very careful of that because I am in the digital world like that. So I hope that answers the question.
So to sum that up, so good personality, very persistent, and trustworthy.
Definitely.
And so being a great musician is pretty much at the bottom of the list for the most part, because at that level, most people can already play. Yeah, because it's so funny, because one of the questions I got when people started finding out about some of the work that I was doing here in Atlanta on a larger scale, hey man, I'm trying to get on. I'm trying to, the term, I'm trying to get on. I'm looking for a way to get on. And I'm like, man, it's about relationship. And sometimes I've heard for years, it's about who you know. And I'm like, that term I use that very loosely, because it's more so about who knows you and who remembers to call you. Because I got a phone full of celebrities, but they don't call me for certain things. So it really, it don't matter who you know. In some instances, it's about who knows you and who trusts you, and who like the things that you mentioned, who wants to work with you. That kind of thing.
I think about it, man. Like, if I say, man, I need a person to come over here and fix my sink.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you got 100 people in your phone, right? But it's certain qualities you look for in those people. Like, they all people.
Yeah.
It's millions of people, but it's only certain ones that got. That's how I look at it when you say I need a musician. Okay, they're all musicians. So if they're in my phone, most likely you can play. There's a good possibility you can play. I got some students in there that's still learning, but for the most part, if you're in my phone, you're pretty dope at playing. So it ain't about if you're a musician. We can get past that. I want to know all the other stuff, So that's how I look at it. And then after all of that, then I look at, okay, what kind of song is this, or what kind of gig is this? who fits it the best, and then availability. You know, I find out those people who's available. So,
Got you. Got
yeah.
you. Good stuff. So, what would you say to up and coming? This is a question that's kind of similar to the other question that I asked. But you know, if we weren't in this pandemic and it's still being in what we're going on, you still need to be preparing yourself. So, what would you say to up and coming musicians? What type of advice would you give to up and coming musicians?
Up and coming musicians, if you want to get ahead and progress past the norm, don't depend on YouTube. It's not don't learn from YouTube, but don't get caught up on what you see on YouTube to where you start judging yourself because you can't do what you see on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the main reasons I think musicians stop playing is because by the time they think they're getting good, they go on and watch a video of somebody killing and be like, man, I don't even want to play no more. I don't even want to play no more. It's like me and you, we didn't really have that back then. You know, when we saw somebody killing, it was at church, you know, or we couldn't just replay it on our phone every day. You know, it was more like, man, he did that. I want to learn it, you know, go home and practice. But now these people, they just skip past the basics and go straight to the hard stuff and learn the hard stuff and don't know nothing about the foundation and stuff. So learn the foundational stuff.
Okay.
Use the tools that you have, because you do have, YouTube is definitely a big tool. Like, don't get me wrong, Facebook's, all that stuff got great stuff on there. Find you a good person to sit under on one of those sites. Jermaine Morgan is, hey, look, let me tell y'all something. First of all, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but y'all know I'm a bass player in my mind, right? I can never get to play, but whenever I'm practicing bass, my mindset is Jermaine Morgan. Before I even remember you even doing Jermaine Morgan down there, I don't know if you've been doing this since I know you, but before I knew it, I always wanted to play like you.
Oh,
like,
wow.
no, I am so serious. I can ask my wife, you can ask my brother. They always know. Like, I'll be like, if there's somebody I could just snatch the I don't want to take it from you, but if I could just absorb it, you play the way I would want to play.
Wow.
And so, like, if anybody, definitely, if you're learning production or you're learning bass, even guitar, what don't you play, man? Drums.
I professionally claim too, but
And you sing too. It's not fair, but he's really, I'm honestly saying, like, he is the person I would try to pattern myself after, because he gives you the best of it. Like, you know, there's some bass players that can do a certain thing, but I don't know if y'all ever seen Jermaine Morgan live, but this dude is just, but then you see him on his videos, and then like studio live, it doesn't matter. Tutorial, everybody can't even teach like he can teach. So what I'm saying is, find you somebody like him. Might as well use him. But to really sit and learn on it, don't just skip around, because it can be discouraging, honestly. When you really, what am I saying? Like even when you're trying to practice, you ever get caught up on YouTube while you're practicing and you end up not practicing?
Oh yeah. You just kind of going through stuff and, oh man, if I could, and then it goes from one video to the next video to the next video. You get
Right.
it done.
Yeah, man. So I mean, just stay focused. That's the main thing. Stay focused. Make sure you practice your skills, and do whatever Jermaine tell you to do. That's just really all it boiled down to.
The Sita brand plug, I will take that.
So serious.
In humility, the praying hand emoji. So this is my last question for you, man. As we get close to wrapping this thing up, what would you say to someone who's about to give up on their dream of becoming a professional musician?
Oh, man. I did at one point.
You gave up or you was about to?
No, I put it like this. I was on the verge of giving up, but I had already started the process. Okay. I sold my keyboard. I sold all my instruments at one point. This is while I was here in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget. I sold it to a musician. I'm not gonna say who it was because everybody know him. But I put an ad on Craigslist. I didn't know who he was at the time. Man, he picked that keyboard up so fast. I sold it so cheap. I felt so bad, but I needed the money for something else I was trying to get into. And man, it was like the life was sucked out of me, man. Like
Yeah.
I came here for music, and within 2 years, it wasn't happening like I wanted it to. And I sold my keyboard to get into something else. I did that for a year and a half or something, and it was tough. So I would say, I mean, we all have those moments when we want to give up. It's not unnatural. It is not.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, I think I posted. I think I'm on the verge of giving up like every 6 months, because man, it gets to that point. But you gotta keep going. It's the people who keep going that's gonna make it. Like this is all the musicians, and somebody gives up, right?
Yeah.
And you're down here. Every time, somebody cuts out, right? That top comes down. It's like whoever stays there, they're gonna reach it. It's like every time somebody else quits, you get promoted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the longer you persist, the longer you keep trying, the longer you practice, man, don't worry about no likes, don't worry about no comments. Y'all, Facebook and Instagram, they got this stuff rigged anyway. It don't even matter no more. Likes, comments, that it used to, but now they let people like your stuff who they want to, and they let people comment who they want to, and they let people see your stuff who they want to. And if you don't pay them, it's just don't even worry about that no more.
Yeah.
Just do what you do. Do what you do and keep doing it. And I'm telling y'all, it will pay off. Take it from me. It will pay off. I know people think that I'm cold on the keyboard or I'm cold on this. Y'all, I can play. I know for a fact I'm not the greatest musician in the world. And I also know that I'm not always as good as people hold me up to be. Somebody was like, man, we want you and Corey Henry to do a jam session together. I'm like, y'all, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something right now.
Stop doing it. Stop. Don't put me in that category here because I'm not in the category of Corey Henry. Like, but at the same time, you can still be successful. You find your own lane. I remember with even playing bass, there was a time I wanted to give up on just playing bass because nobody would hire me to play bass. Every time I try to get hired, they move me to keys or they would trick me. They'd be like, man, we need a bass player. I'd be like, for real? And then when I get to the gig, oh man, our keyboard player called off. Can you play keys? I'm like, man. But to fix that, what I did was I started playing key bass. That was something I could excel in fast enough to where I could hold my own. And I just turned down gigs unless it was key bass. I was just like, I'm not doing. I mean, one year I'm not doing a gig unless it's key bass. I'm just not. Yeah. And I got gigs that way. So don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep going. When you want to give up, that's the time when you need to keep going. I'm trying to tell you, that's the time you need to keep pushing, like for real.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really good. I'll interject this last thing on that tip. I think it's just even looking at what you do. I know you and I have a lot in common in terms of both of us kind of doing our own brands and stuff. I think it's very, very important, and you can piggyback on this when I finish, but I think it's so important, man, to sit there and wait for somebody to give you a shot. And I don't mean for that to be taken out of context. I don't mean for that to be taken out of context. Like if you just start playing last week, you haven't put in the work and you want somebody to give you a shot. Now you mad because won't nobody give you a shot. So you start your own thing. You out of order. You're like, come on, put some time in. But if you know that you have been putting the time in and you know that you know what you're doing and you have your own thing, don't keep sitting and waiting for somebody to give you a shot, because a lot of the people who are at the quote unquote at the top now, they stop waiting on people to give them a shot and they start creating moments for themselves to have opportunities. I said this before. I tell this story. When I first started on my little artist journey, when I did my first solo bass album, I was here in Atlanta and there weren't a lot of gigs for me, what I was wanting to do. Most of the venues were wanting cover songs. I didn't want to play cover songs. they wanted some type of cover band or that kind of thing, or you had to have a bigger known name. I didn't have none of that stuff. I didn't have a name. I didn't have a publicist or anything like that to help, quote unquote, put me out there. So what I did is I started checking out my local network, like my local neighborhood rather. And I went and tried to see what kind of gig I could do in the neighborhood to start playing my own music. I was trying to create my own opportunity. And so I went to a few people with the concept. Nobody bid on the idea. So I finally went to this pizza joint. And so you might have saw some of my little flyers on Facebook probably about 9 years ago or so, however many years it was. But I went to this pizza gig and I said like, hey, what's your slowest night? They're like, Tuesday night. I said, well, how about this? How about I come in, play some live music on Tuesday night and see if we can get some more people in here. And they liked the idea. So what I did, I took my bass and my laptop.
Yep.
And I took my little setup with my bass and my laptop. Some nights I would take my guitar as well and play, but for the most part, it was just my bass. I had my loop pedal there for some loop stuff, and I had my laptop with my tracks that I created. And nowadays, there's so many backing tracks. A lot of musicians have created backing tracks. There's a lot of backing tracks on YouTube. You can get producers to right now produce you backing tracks for a little bit of nothing. So like I was using my own custom backing tracks from my record, playing my original music there, got business coming in. Only thing that ruined that situation is that the customer service was bad. So people didn't want to come back to the restaurant because the customer service sucked. They was like, we love your plan, but we ain't coming back because the customer service sucks. That's the only thing that ruined that. But my whole point in telling that story is I stopped waiting on someone to give me an opportunity. And I started creating opportunities for myself to grow in my musicianship. Now, did I become rich from that? No, I didn't. I only got like $50 for that gig. And it was literally 5 minutes down the road from my house. So at that point, it was cool because I wasn't worried about the money aspect of it. I'm like, you know, I'm getting the things that I need. I'm getting to perform in front of people instead of just being in these four walls recording on YouTube all the time. I'm getting to regularly perform in front of people, get real interaction, get to see how real people feel about my music, get some real feedback, get some honest feedback, learn how to connect better with my audience, all that kind of stuff. So I was creating opportunities, and the payoff of it wasn't the $50. The payoff was everything else I learned from that experience. And most of you guys heard me tell this story before, but 80% of my record, my life album, was written from doing that piece of it.
Wow.
Because I was just coming up with ideas with my loop pedal. I would go in there and just come up with ideas, and I would save them on my loop pedal. So I got a whole album out of that, and a lot of ideas came from that, and it birthed other things. So it's just you using those opportunities to create something for yourself, especially now. One of the things I mentioned, you can do the same thing now. A few restaurants and stuff are opening up now. Just an idea for musicians who are trying to find some type of work. A few restaurants are opening up now, and they're doing an outside thing. Go check out maybe once a week. Go say, hey, you looking for some live music? I'm out here. Maybe we can get some more people to come out. I can come set up. You know, maybe if you got a big setup, you play drums. I don't know how easy that's going to be. You maybe an electric kit or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you play an acoustic instrument or a keyboard or something like that, or it's just you and a vocalist, you got to be, like Sita was saying earlier, you have to be creative during this time, because I know everybody is not technology savvy, but there are things you can do to create something and then give you that feel of playing. And all the while you're building your brand, because if these people start to get to know you locally now as a local artist, maybe they'll consider you when things open back up for something bigger. And that might create some opportunities for you. So just something I wanted to kind of
Hey, don't fail to all that stuff you was talking about, especially now. These restaurants will say yes. they need it, man. So definitely, that was very, very good advice, man.
Well, man, I appreciate you you taking this time out of your schedule to do this interview and to share these nuggets with everybody. How can people find your products? How can they find out more about what it is you do, more about you, all that information?
Well, of course, I'm on my Instagram page for now until I get that's a whole nother thing. Got my own thing brewing. But yeah, Instagram at CDub World. So CDUB World. CDUB World. You can find me on there, and on there there should be a link tree that you can get to all my stuff. But as far as my apps, if you type in Loops by CDub, make sure it's Loops by CDub on the App Store. You'll find my app there. Hoop Triggers with a Z, so that's WHOOP Triggers with a Z. That's another one of my apps. And I don't know why we haven't mentioned Scale Junkie, but hey, if you're obviously if you're a musician watching this, and everybody needs to practice scales, so I created this app that makes it really easy and really fun for you to practice your scales. It's not boring and not old boring metric. I know how. Yeah, it's actually fun. You're playing some music, so check it out. It's free on the App Store, and all of these apps are both on Android and iPhone or iOS. So check them out. Scale Junkie, Hoop Triggers Plus, Loose by CDub, and what else coming next?
That's some good stuff, man. The crazy thing is, I had a note to mention Scale Junkie, and I missed it. I completely missed it. That's good. I'm glad that you mentioned it, because it's definitely a dope tool. And I'm about to put my daughter on it. My daughter is 8 years old, and she's learning piano. She's figuring it out pretty good, and I know that's going to make it so much more fun for her to practice just by listening to that app. It's got different settings and stuff. You'll see once you go to the app. All of my students go and download
That's what's up.
Scale Junkie now, because you already know it's going to help your plan. I wouldn't recommend anything that wouldn't help you, and it's definitely a dope app. And that's Justin Raines playing the bass on the backing tracks, right? Is he playing all of them?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's Justin Raines just playing on those tracks. So cool. So cool stuff.
Yes,
well, man, again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you're new to this channel, be sure to press the subscribe button. If you want to follow Sita here on YouTube, go to his channel. What is that channel?
CDub World. Same thing. CDub World.
Here on YouTube, you can subscribe to his channel. Be sure to turn on the notifications. Be sure to turn on these notifications so that you don't miss any of these videos. Again, thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Peace.
Peace out.